What is good, YouTube? I'm about to show you 4 or 5 macros. You're welcome to argue whether one counts as 2 or not between yourselves in the comments. But anyway, I'm about to show you 5 macros that I use for pretty much every spell in PvP. Now, if you're wondering what a macro is, it's basically you're writing your own button to push that contains conditions along with an ability. So say you want a specific spell to have a specific target and that to be in one button. That's what macro will do, plus a lot of other things. Stay tuned. Now firstly, I want to cover what the global cooldown is, the GCD. Now when I use an ability, as you'll see here in a second, it puts a spinning cooldown on most of my other moves where I can't use them for a second, a second and a half. It changes with your haste. Now, not every move, these 3 over here on the right, on the right are off the global cooldown, which means you can hit them at the same time. Now, what the first macro is a CD stacking macro. Most of you know what this is. Basically, you're putting off the global cooldown moves with one on the global cooldown move to make it easier to hit 4 buttons at once, say. So one example of something I use is this macro for my burst with my Ravager. So the first line is show tooltip, and basically that makes the macro look like whatever spell is in there. It doesn't cast anything, right? So if you want to put a bunch of abilities in one button and then still want it to look like, say, Ravager, you would put show tooltip Ravager, but that doesn't actually cast a spell. Now, then I'll drop my Bloodbath and this is just for the way I set up my own Fury macro. So other people may want to put all their buffs before their ability, but for Fury specifically, I put Bloodbath and Avatar before Ravager, but then I cast Ravager and then Battle Cry, or Battle Shout, or whatever. I cast my... I should know that. I'll put an annotation. Anyway, my goal here is to be able to build up enough rage that I can use the ability twice in a row by using Ravager and then using the Battle Shout afterwards. You can refill your rage if you have the one talent, and it gives you basically 2 Ravagers in a row. But most people just stack a bunch of cooldowns in one button and have a good time. That is the CD stacking, and there is one more little way that I know how to use it, and I'll show you right here. And I'm going to come over here onto my Arms Warrior, and basically it is a Blade Storm macro with the Engineer Rocket Boost for lols, just for the BG lols, and if you want to get away from people that are trying to snare you, you know. But that's just, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways. I also use it for the Healthstone macro with the Ancient Healing Potions. So, you know, if I got one or the other, it's one button. But those are just a few ideas for CD stacking. Now, the next one here will be a target swapping macro. I use this for pretty much every spell and ability. I only started out using it with a couple. The abilities I would use mainly on a new target, so like on arms, as with Colossal Smash, you're going to use that before every other ability. I would put my target swap in that, or in my charge. But basically I put it in every move now, and say it sets your target to your mouse over. So you put your mouse over one target, hit any spell, and it changes your target to that target. Now, I use this on pretty much everything at this point. Even, this is just like a little example of target swapping just off the fly. The charges, even interrupts, pummels, everything, I'm telling you. Yeah, target swapping macro. Once I got used to this, it pretty much made my life a lot easier with swapping targets to heals. That's the target swapping macro. Now, the next one we have here is a mouse over macro. I use this in two ways. I'll use it with the previous macro that changes my target, and without. So the first way I'll use it is without, and that is with polymorph here. So obviously I don't want to attack always the guy I'm going to polymorph, so sometimes I just want to polymorph a guy that's on the side. Basically this allows you to not change your target and still polymorph. Now the first chunk of text here basically is the mouse over target part, and then the two brackets, I'll put them in larger here, they make it function normally if you don't have a mouse over. So if you don't have anybody under your mouse, you're not just going to spam polymorph or need a second whole button just to polymorph your current target. Yeah, so it's kind of a 2-in-1 polymorph macro. Now the other way I use it with the abilities I want to change my target looks more like this. And if you're a priest with a move, or a warrior with intervene, with a move that basically targets both your enemy and your allies, then you may want to add in the line .harm or .player. And I'll show you what the .player looks like in just a sec. And this is what the .player looks like. So you'd want to use this in an ability that, say you want to make a macro that makes intervene only target allies, so it doesn't get confused when you're trying to save your ally. You would use /player inside that macro targeting box where the mouse over target function is all contained. Yeah. Now, one good way to use this as a healer is to come in here and use the raid frames. I know nobody likes the raid frames, but it basically turns everything into like a heal bot kind of thing without having to have an actual add-on, because you can mouse over the raid frames too to heal. So, and it works the same way if you're a healer that has somebody targeted, like a main buddy or a main tank in a dungeon. You can use the mouse overs to mouse over heal other people, and then just remove your mouse from being over top of something to then heal whatever you have targeted. Same as the DPS mouse over macro. Now those are you can determine whether or not that's two macros, the offensive mouse over and the defensive mouse over, or if that's one macro. Now I'm going to jump over to my DH here. I have shown this macro before, but for the sake of not having to direct people, this is the last macro too, so if you know this one, then you're welcome to leave. But for the sake of not having to direct people to another video, I'll cover it quickly. It is the ground target macro. Any ability that can ground target, like Heroic Leap, or many of the sigils on your tank Demon Hunter, you can basically make either target you automatically without having to put your mouse over top of yourself by basically using the @player, or you can use wherever your mouse is hovering over top of with the @cursor. Now you can combine these with a simple shift modifier for the alt over yourself, and then obviously the normal way to use it would be the cursor way. Now this works exceptionally well. I'll note this quick. I did note it before. This works exceptionally well on the Demon Hunter tank because your leap is a ground target move that is off a global cooldown, and now you're able to actually use two abilities at the same time, like your leap with another sigil, because it's off the global cooldown and you can click two at the same time. Since it's one click, it's not a click the spell then click the ground. Yeah, that's the ground target macro. These are the 5 macros I used for pretty much most of the abilities I got. I hope you learned something here. They're not needed, but I just kind of like incorporate new things to my play as I get bored, and I'm giving you a little bit to work with here. Hope you have a good one, and good luck in the BGs.
Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more wacky content, and drop a like if I'm on the right track and you're having a good time. Anyways, have a good one guys, and Godspeed.